Today we're going to be jumping into uh, a pretty pivotal, a pretty dramatic moment, really, in the Old Testament. We're talking Exodus chapter 34, and it's really layered. It reveals so much about this relationship that's being forged. And, well, I guess our mission here is to really get down to what's at the core of this renewed covenant,
Wow.
and all these really kind of intriguing details around Moses's encounter with God. So let's unpack this. Let's figure out what's most important for you to take away from Exodus 34.
You know, this chapter's not just some rehashing of the same old stuff. It's a really profound look at how God offers second chances and how that connection between God and humanity is so strong.
Right.
Especially after something as big as the golden calf incident.
Right, yeah.
I mean, think about it. Those first tablets being shattered, that raises the stakes so high, and it makes this renewal of the covenant incredibly important.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and it kicks off right away with the Lord telling Moses, chisel out 2 stone tablets like the first ones, and I will write on them the words that were on the first tablets, which you broke. Okay, so let's think about this for a second. This instruction to recreate, it's deeply symbolic, right? It's not like starting from scratch. It's more about a restoration, kind of rebuilding what was broken. What strikes you about that most?
I think what gets me is that God doesn't just snap his fingers and make new tablets appear,
Right.
He gets Moses involved. He tells him, you go and prepare these. And I think that speaks to this idea of them working together like partners in this renewal.
Right.
And it shows that even when we mess up, there's still a chance to be restored,
Yeah.
but it takes effort from both sides.
I see, yeah. And then there's this very specific setting being set up, right?
Yeah.
Moses has to be ready first thing in the morning. He's got to go up Mount Sinai alone, and not a single soul can be in sight, not even animals. This isolation, this intense privacy. Why do you think that is? What's the significance of that, for this kind of meeting?
I think being completely alone like that, it really shows just how unique and personal this revelation from God is.
Okay.
It's like all distractions have to be removed,
Yeah.
God's creating this special space where he can talk directly to Moses one-on-one.
It's like the ultimate closed-door meeting.
Exactly. It shows just how intimate and important this moment is.
And then you get this incredibly powerful moment. The Lord comes down in a cloud and just proclaims his name, the Lord, the Lord.
Oh.
That repetition, it's got to be more than just saying his name twice, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. It's like he's making this huge announcement. He's revealing who he is at his core. It demands your attention, and it demands your attention.
Right.
And it sets the stage for what he's about to say about himself.
Right.
It's a really weighty moment.
It is. And then what follows is just amazing. Compassionate and gracious God, slow to anger, abounding in love and faithfulness, maintaining love to thousands, and forgiving wickedness, rebellion, and sin.
It's a lot to take in.
It is, yeah. What stands out to you in that self-portrait, in those words?
You know, what I find so powerful is just how much depth there is to those attributes. God isn't just all-powerful. He's also incredibly merciful.
Yeah.
He's committed to his people, even when they mess up. And when you think about how they just broke the covenant, all that talk about love, faithfulness, and forgiveness is a pretty strong contrast.
It is, yeah. But then there's this other side that comes up. Yet he does not leave the guilty unpunished. He punishes the children and their children for the sin of the parents to the 3rd and 4th generation.
Yeah, that one's tough.
It's a heavy statement.
Yeah.
How do we even begin to understand that, especially alongside all those other amazing qualities?
Well, I think it shows us how closely tied together mercy and justice really are. It's not necessarily about God punishing people generations later for the exact same sin, though.
Right.
It's more about how sin has lasting consequences. Patterns of behavior get passed down in families and communities, and the effects can echo for generations.
So you're saying it's about the ripple effect of sin.
Exactly. And in the grand scheme of things, I think it underscores just how serious sin really is and how far its impact can reach.
It really does make you think. So how does Moses react to all of this? I mean, he just had God reveal his very nature to him.
It's intense.
And what does he do? He bows down and worships.
Yeah.
Right there. What does that tell us about him in that moment?
Oh, that's pure humility and awe. He's just witnessed this incredible revelation of God.
Yeah.
And it's just a natural response to submit and adore.
Makes sense.
It really highlights the power of that encounter and how much reverence Moses had for the Lord.
Yeah, and then he does something really interesting. He steps in and prays for the people.
After the golden calf.
He actually calls them a stiff-necked people. But then he pleads with God, "Forgive our wickedness and our sin, and take us as your inheritance." I mean, that's pretty bold after everything they did. What does it say about Moses' role at this point?
You know, even after that huge mess up, Moses is still 100% committed to his people.
He doesn't abandon them.
No. He sees their flaws, but he doesn't turn away. He becomes this mediator between them and God, fighting for them to be forgiven and to stay in the covenant.
That's true leadership.
It really is. It takes a lot of empathy to do that.
And God responds to Moses' prayer. He says, "I am making a covenant with you. Before all your people, I will do wonders never before done in any nation in all the world."
Now that's an amazing promise. What do you think that would meant to Moses and maybe even to the people if they'd heard it directly?
Oh, that would have been huge for them. After they betrayed God, that's like a giant reassurance that he's still with them.
Yeah. He's promising to do things no one's ever seen before, which kind of sets the stage for all the miracles they're about to experience on their journey. It's a promise of hope,
Yeah.
and it reminds them that they are God's chosen people.
It's a fresh start.
Yeah, a really powerful one.
But then things take a very practical turn. God tells them to obey, and he lists all these nations that they're going to drive out.
Okay.
The Amorites, the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites.
That's a lot of ites.
It is. And this is directly tied to the challenges they were facing, right? I mean, they're headed for the promised land, and these are the folks in their way.
That's right. This is where the talk turns into action. God's saying, look, I'll help you, but you got to do your part too. You can't just sit back and expect miracles. You got to be active in taking what's yours. And it's interesting because these are the exact cultures they're going to run into. So God's making it very clear what they need to do.
It's like a battle plan.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's these strong warnings about making treaties with the people who already live there. God calls it a snare. What's so dangerous about these treaties? Why are they such a threat to their relationship with God?
I think the main concern is that they could get sucked into worshiping other gods.
Okay.
Back then, it was really common to blend different religions together. It's called syncretism.
Syncretism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they start making treaties, it's easy to see how they might end up participating in the Canaanites' religious rituals and start believing some of their stuff.
Yeah, I see.
And that would be a huge problem because God demanded their exclusive worship. So these warnings are all about protecting their identity as God's people and keeping them focused on him alone.
So it's about drawing a clear line.
Exactly.
And to really drive that point home, God gives them very specific and, well, kind of forceful instructions. He tells them to break down altars, smash sacred stones, and cut down Asherah poles.
Wow, that's pretty dramatic.
It is. Why do you think God is so insistent on dismantling those religious symbols?
It's a way of completely separating them from the Canaanite religion.
Right.
Those physical symbols had to go, so there wouldn't be any temptation to compromise or adopt those foreign customs. It's a physical act that shows their commitment to worshiping only one God, and it sets them apart from everyone else.
It's like a clean break, a visual reminder.
Exactly.
Then we get this powerful statement. "Do not worship any other God, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God."
Oh, yeah.
That word jealous, it can be a bit tricky. What do you think it really means in this context?
I don't think it's like human jealousy where we get insecure or envious.
Okay.
Here, God's jealousy is about how much he loves his people and how fiercely he wants to protect their relationship. God doesn't want to share that deep connection with anything that could hurt it. So, in a way, his jealousy is a sign of his deep love.
I never thought about it like that. And then the warnings continue, don't they? God talks about the dangers of shared meals, intermarriage, and even daughters leading their sons astray. It really shows how intertwined religion and social life were back then.
It wasn't just about having different beliefs, it was about their entire way of life. Sharing meals and marrying into other cultures could easily lead to Israelites adopting foreign customs, and that would weaken their identity and their commitment to the covenant.
And the daughters influencing their sons, it highlights how important family relationships were in shaping religious beliefs.
Absolutely, it was all connected.
And then, just to make things crystal clear, God says it straight out, do not make any idols. This idea of exclusive worship is so central, isn't it?
It's the foundation of the covenant. Forbidding idols reinforces that God is a spiritual being. He can't be captured in a physical form, And it prevents people from getting caught up in worshiping objects instead of the true God.
It's about focusing on the unseen.
Yes, exactly.
So we move on to a whole set of instructions for different festivals. The Festival of Unleavened Bread, regulations concerning the firstborn, and the Sabbath. The Festival of Unleavened Bread is 7 days long. It takes place in the month of Aviv, and it's a direct reminder of their escape from Egypt.
These festivals are so important. They're like annual reminders of everything God has done for them.
Right.
They structure their lives around worship, remembering, and being thankful. And the Festival of Unleavened Bread is especially powerful because they're literally reenacting their liberation from slavery.
Wow. And then there are these rules about the firstborn, both animals and children. They belong to the Lord, but there are specific instructions for redeeming them.
Yeah.
There's even a detail about a donkey. And throughout it all, the idea is that they shouldn't come before the Lord empty-handed. What do you think all of that means?
It shows that God has a claim on their lives and everything they have because he's the one who set them free.
It's a reminder of his ownership.
Exactly. And the redeeming part acknowledges that ownership, but it also lets families continue their line and keep their resources. And coming before the Lord with gifts, that's an act of gratitude. It shows they recognize that everything good comes from God.
That makes sense. And the Sabbath, that comes up again too, right? 6 days of work, 7th day complete rest, even during the busiest farming seasons.
Yeah, God really emphasizes that.
It shows how important rest is.
It's not just about taking a break, though. It's about acknowledging that God is the one who provides for them. Their success doesn't just depend on how hard they work. It comes from God.
So even when they're super busy, they have to trust God and take that day of rest.
Exactly. It's a real test of faith.
It is. Then we get instructions for 2 more festivals. The Festival of Weeks, which celebrates the wheat harvest, and the Festival of Ingathering, which happens at the end of the year. These festivals are really tied to the land, aren't they?
Oh, they are. They're all about thanking God for the food he provides and celebrating the abundance of the land. It's a beautiful way of connecting their worship to the natural rhythms of life.
Yeah, it's about recognizing God's role in everything.
Absolutely. He's the giver of all good things.
And then there's this really interesting instruction. All the men have to appear before the Lord 3 times a year.
Wow.
And God promises to protect their land and even expand their territory while they're gone. That must have taken a lot of faith, leaving everything behind like that.
Oh, for sure. It shows how much they trusted God.
Yeah.
They're basically saying, we're putting our worship and obedience first.
Yeah. Putting God above their own security.
Exactly. It's a powerful example of their priorities.
It is. Then there are specific rules about sacrifices. No yeast with blood sacrifices. The Passover sacrifice can't be left until morning. And the first fruits have to be the best of the harvest.
It's all about purity and giving God your best.
Uh-huh.
These rules are designed to make their worship pure and show their true devotion. They have to approach God with reverence and offer him what's valuable to them.
It's about respect and sincerity.
Exactly.
And then there's this one instruction that always stands out to me. It almost seems random. Do not cook a young goat in its mother's milk.
Oh, yeah.
Why is that even in there?
Well, a lot of people believe it was about separating them from pagan practices.
Okay.
Apparently, cooking a goat kid in its mother's milk was part of fertility rituals in some of the surrounding cultures. So by forbidding that, God was making sure Israel's worship was different and pure, not mixed with pagan ideas.
It's another way of drawing a line between them and the other nations.
Yes, exactly. It's about keeping their worship pure and unique.
So after all of this, God tells Moses to write everything down. These words are the foundation of the renewed covenant. And Moses stays up on that mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. No food, no water, just him and God.
That's serious dedication.
And the text specifically says that during that time, he wrote the 10 Commandments on the tablets.
It's a powerful image, isn't it?
It is.
It shows just how important this covenant is. And it reminds us that the 10 Commandments are central to it.
Absolutely. And then we get to one of the most visually striking parts of the whole story. Moses comes down from Mount Sinai, and his face is glowing.
Glowing.
Yeah, radiating. He doesn't even realize it at first, but it's because he's been so close to God for so long.
Wow, that's a powerful image. You can actually see the effect of his encounter with God's glory. It's like being that close to God changes you physically.
And the Israelites, they're terrified.
Yeah.
They won't even go near him. I mean, can you imagine seeing your leader come down from a mountain with a radiant face?
I guess it would be a bit intimidating.
A bit. It sounds terrifying. I think it shows just how powerful and majestic God is.
Yeah.
Even just a reflection of his glory is enough to make people afraid.
Yeah, it's a reminder that God is something totally different, totally other.
He's not like us. So Moses calls them back, tells them everything God has said, and then he does something really interesting. He puts a veil over his face.
A veil. Why?
And it becomes this pattern. Every time he comes back from being with God, his face glows and he covers it up until the next time. What do you think that means? Why the veil?
It's a bit of a mystery, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe it was to protect the people from the full intensity of God's glory. Maybe it was just too much for them to handle.
Right.
Or maybe it shows that the radiance was temporary, that it faded over time.
Okay.
And for Moses, maybe the veil was a way of managing this incredible experience.
Mhm.
You know, it's not like he could just walk around glowing all the time.
Right.
It had to be contained somehow. But ultimately, I think it raises some really important questions about how we experience God, how close we can get, and how we deal with the awe-inspiring nature of the divine.
It really does. So, to wrap things up, let's go over the key takeaways from Exodus 34. We've seen how God renewed his covenant with the Israelites after they broke it. And it's not just about the 10 Commandments. It's about a whole set of instructions that cover everything from worship practices to social interactions to how they should treat the people in the land. God is very specific about what he wants from them. He emphasizes exclusive worship and warns them against mixing their faith with the beliefs of other cultures. And then, of course, there's the incredible story of Moses' encounter with God and his glowing face, which really highlights the power and mystery of the divine.
What strikes me is the balance we see in God. He's compassionate and merciful, but he's also just. He lays out clear expectations for his people, and he's serious about them living according to his will. But he also offers them second chances and promises to do amazing things for them. And the whole episode with Moses' face is just a powerful reminder that encountering God can change you in profound ways.
It's thought-provoking, isn't it? And it leaves us with some questions to ponder.
Definitely.
When you look at all the details of this covenant, what does it say about the relationship God wants to have with his people? What does it mean for us today? And what about the veil Moses wore? What does that tell us about the nature of God's presence and how we experience it? Lots to think about after our deep dive into Exodus 34.
There is.
Thanks for joining us.
It was my pleasure.